this emergency trust fund is really just one part of the bigger puzzle and the bigger piece that the PA is looking to do overall with the NWSL and the players that are still competing. And this conversation is not over about the collective bargaining agreement that is happening right now. And before we dive really deep into this conversation, Meghann, as the lawyer, I'm going to ask you another process question here. Can you just kind of explain what a CBA is and who needs them?
Yeah, sure.
If our listeners are tuning in and they're like, what is the CBA they keep referring to? Break it down for them.
I know. Let me break it down, and you can stop me, and we'll break it down even more. But so CBA stands for a collective bargaining agreement. And a CBA is basically a contract between an employer and the union that represents a group of employees, so us. That's kind of the brass tacks 101. But, it's important to note the first word in there is collective, right? So it's the group together, and it sets minimum standards of employment, terms and conditions of employment. This is why a CBA is vital to players for the 2022 season, because you look at 2021 and the work conditions, the conditions of employment in NWSL, the system's failed, period. I don't think the CBA is a magic bullet, but it's absolutely one of the mechanisms that can solve many of the systemic power imbalances and problems we saw in 2021. And so this contract has become even more important to players as we've lived through the 2021 season. The CBA is sort of, if you imagine, if you're like a casual fan and you're wondering like, okay, so it's a contract, but players sign contracts too and whatever, think of it as like the framework. It kind of builds the house and the foundation. But then within that, there's going to be room for, negotiation between a player and a club to establish things like salary or other conditions or perks or bonuses or whatnot. But the CBA kind of sets the whole framework for the whole system. And, frankly, I think it's in our mutual best interest, NWSL and the players, to have this as a roadmap for what the future of NWSL will look like moving forward.
So, Sydney, as a former player and from a player's perspective, why is it important for players to have a CBA?
Yeah, I think it sets the new standard for where women's soccer can go. And now we have a baseline, and give players the confidence to know that, this can grow, and this is the baseline, but this is absolutely what you're going to get, and you won't get anything below it. And so, I think we're very much at an important point in the history of women's soccer, especially here in the U.S. And so by having this CBA, we're just solidifying, the direction that we're going to be able to go and where we want to get to. So I think, and my hope is that it just provides players with the confidence that, they can feel good in their employment. They can feel good showing up to work, feeling like they have the resources that they need to be able to do their job to the best of their ability and not worry about, outside factors. So again, I think, the point being here that it's just setting a standard that players can feel good about.
Something that I've been thinking about too is that in these ongoing negotiations for a collective bargaining agreement, this has been ongoing for 2021. This is not something that sort of came spur of the moment post the regular season, right? The players union has been trying to advocate for themselves, right? And then in the midst of all of the things that occurred over the course of the regular season, there was this sort of adjacent fight, right, too, where we heard a lot about safe environments and protecting the players. And that became another fight that was happening alongside the CBA negotiation. So in terms of all of that's always going to continue to be important moving forward for the players in this league. But in terms of just the collective bargaining agreement for you, Meghann, because again, this is a lawyer question. In your perspective, what's the temperature? Where did the conversation stand at this point, perhaps with the players union, the league, and this CBA?
I mean, to use an analogy, we're in stoppage time. So, we did the math. We've had 34 bargaining sessions since March. We have spent over 250 hours literally at the bargaining table. When I say 250 hours, that is only at the bargaining table. That does not include all the meetings that players, our bargaining committee has had to prepare, to debrief, to draft documents, to conduct surveys, get player input. let's put aside the No More Silence and No More Side Hustles campaigns. I'm not even including that. I'm talking 250 hours at the table. So we do feel like we're in stoppage time here. We'd hope to have a contract by the end of the year. You know, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there are some issues that we're not quite there yet on, but I certainly hope that immediately in the new year we might be able to get there.
You're kind of alluding to this, Meghann, but for players that maybe are listening to this, or fans that want to support the CBA, as you look ahead to the end of the year, and really it's so crazy to say 2022 just around the corner, the goal for the Players Association and the CBA, what kind of timeline can players expect?
We're engaged in that discussion now. You know, those preparations are happening now, and you know, I feel comfortable saying that we're not going to relive the 2021 season.
I think that's a good point, and maybe a hopeful point for people to sort of hang their hat on. For you, Sydney, when you have sort of are going to maybe take a different role now, right? Sort of being a player and sort of being on the receiving end of the information, right? Absorbing all that stuff once upon a time as a former player, and sort of hearing about, you know, whether it's via player reps or otherwise through conversations about what these ongoing negotiations are. What has that shift sort of been like for you now, as you're going to be taking on a role as a business agent within the PA? How are you shifting your perspective at all, or is it just, are those two things that Jason sort of connected and go online, being the former player and then now the business agent, having all of those things connected together when you're receiving this information about the ongoing CBA negotiations?
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, Meg and I discussed this quite a bit in speaking about the role, and you know, why it was important that a player takes on this role is to have that player perspective in these, you know, more intimate conversations. And so I can say that that's really where I want to pride myself on going in these conversations. Is I'm here for the players, and that has to and will be the focus for this. So yeah, I mean, the day-to-day is going to look different for me. You know, some things will obviously have to transition, but first and foremost, I'm here for the players, and I hope that gives them confidence as well to have someone in this role that, you know, not only has been in this league, but also lived a 2021. And I think that's motivation in itself to get in there and get this done for these players, because we can't have that again.
Well, Sydney, you are changing roles a little bit, but you're still very much involved. And because we have you and your boss on here, Meghann, right now, I hope your wardrobe can maybe stay as comfy and as casual as it was as a player. I don't know. I'm just trying to fight for you here, Sydney.
I hope so. I'm not going to lie. It kind of gives me a reason now to maybe, you know, try some new wardrobe changes. I don't know. But yes, please don't put any, you know, restrictions on that or anything like that.
Well, for the record, the players are my boss. So
there you go. I love that relationship. So a chance to kind of dive deeper into your closet, maybe go on a shopping spree. Why not? If you're looking for inspiration, Gotham, their runway camera crew for before the games, pretty great inspiration for the fashion.
We should do a pregame fits. What does that look like?
Hey, I think that would be a hit.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I think that would be a massive success, right? It's all about that engagement on the socials. For the two of you, early thank yous, right, for joining us today. But before we close out for each of you, is there anything else that either of you would like fans of the league, or, you know, the attacking third audience to know about the Players Association specifically, or anything about the current initiatives with the emergency fund or CBA negotiations?
Sid, I'll let you go first.
I'll go first. No, I mean, first off, give a huge shout out to the fans and for sticking with us all the way through 21. And we know they're going to be there for us, you know, for years to come. So, you know, just to continue to follow us and, you know, share our messages, you know, come out to games once that season gets underway. But, you know, just continue to share our message and amplify it. You know, support the fund. You know, keep tweeting No More Side Hustles, protect the players. You know, that's very near and dear to us. So just the more support and amplification that we can get would be a really big help.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I couldn't say it better. I mean, huge thank you to the fans and supporters. It really makes all the difference when you go through a season like we just did, to know that people have our backs. You know, the AFL-CIO, our brothers and sisters in the labor movement, our brother and sister PAs. Like, we've just really felt the solidarity this year. And the message that I would send to fans is, as we near the end of the year, yes, we're grateful, but we're also doubling down. Literally, we're bringing Sid on board and doubling in size and quadrupling in might. So we're ready to go in 2022.